168-pound fighter in the world. We bring you back to Manchester with Boxing After Dark analyst Max Kellerman. So he took on the big assignment against Lacey, and he aced it. What are his horizons tonight?
The surprise in the Joe-Calzaghe-Jeff Lacey fight was not that Calzaghe won, but that in light of age and injuries in recent years that have seemed to remove him from his prime, he dominated the perceived baddest man in the division. He's now teetering on the brink of real boxing superstardom. We're here tonight to see if the Lacey performance was one last great effort in the career of the best 168-pounder since a prime Roy Jones Jr., or if it served as a wake-up call, especially to the American fight public, but also to the big-name American fighters. Because you know, Jermaine Taylor, Bernard Hopkins, and Winky Wright are watching tonight.
Indeed they are, and of course there are some other big-name fighters watching. Part of the thrill here this weekend has been to be back on the home turf of world heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis, who now takes a few moments out from nonstop autograph signing to do the show. Lennox, Joe-Calzaghe has a fascinating style, highly unusual. What is it?
Very unusual, and he's got great rhythm, great hand speed, great movement. He throws punches from different angles, and you know, you throw a punch, he's hitting you 3 times, and he's here to prove that this is his house, and he's going to prove it tonight.
Is there any fighter in the sport who fights exactly like Calzaghe?
I don't see any fighter that fights like him. I'm telling you, he's got quick hands, and he's always throwing punches. His punch rate is incredible.
It's an unusual style, as we say. Perhaps if you were to put it in musical terms, you're about to see jazz rather than the regular rhythm and blues. The nation of Wales, of course, known over the decades for producing poets, actors and actresses, rugby players. But Calzaghe is that nation's first significant fighter in the modern era, and for that he shares credit with his former musician and trainer father, Enzo Calzaghe. Let's take a closer look.
I'm a peaceful guy. I wouldn't want to fight with anybody. I just happen to be good in my hands, fast in my hands, and be skilled at the art of boxing. Boxing's an art.
Jab, that's a cracking jab. That's the one. That's a punch. Good jab, jab.
That art is created in this ramshackle building, nestled in the Welsh countryside. And if you ask anyone in Newbridge, Wales, who trains there, they know. Because Joe-Calzaghe is their one boxing star in a region where rugby is king.
Wales is renowned for its rugby and being big rugby fans, but unfortunately for me, I'm not a big rugby fan. My dad's influence, and you know, that's what brought me to boxing. You know, through my dad that I started boxing. You know, the earliest memories for me is Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler.
The very first day I took him down to the gym, the trainer's name was Mark Williams. I said, Mark, do you mind to come in? Joe wants to have a go at boxing. I said, no problem. He said, Eds, your kid been boxed before, haven't you? I said, no. So I remember the word he said, well, that's true, he said. You've got a very open class kid there. Now, I didn't know what open class meant. I said, so I asked him, what's open class mean? That means very good. Oh, I said, bloody, that's good. I like that.
The gym became his sanctuary. But Calzaghe couldn't escape the sometimes harsh reality of life outside. Small in stature, Calzaghe was the target of bullying in grade school. It made a deep impression.
Probably did affect me a little bit, and I can sympathize with kids that you know, do get bullied in school and that, because it's a horrible thing, horrible time to go through, and it did probably affect my schoolwork and that. So when I was in school, I was a totally different person to where I was outside. Obviously, when I come to the gym, I was my escapism.
So the Calzaghes began their unusual boxing journey, each with little or no experience. By trade, Enzo was a traveling musician who never fought or trained another fighter professionally. What he knew was learned from observation. Within the sport, experts scoffed at the notion this team could take Joe to the next level.
Good. We do the punch. Come on.
I heard it many times from people and from that father of him is going to destroy his son. The best thing he can do is father's piss off when he turns pro, because he let someone else handle him.
He's a good trainer in his own right, regardless of being my dad. I'd spar with my dad. You know, I'd spar with him as well, and I used to spar with my dad until I was 18, 19.
Straight, lovely, strong jab. Jab and move, that's it, counter, left hand. Bang over top. I was very enthusiastic myself as a sportsman, not as a boxer, as a sportsman. I would run with him, I would train with him. So although I would say to him, get your ass up, I would get up as well. If it's pissing down the rain, I'll get up as well with him. Snowing, I'll go, you just want to sit there? I'm going on me, I'm back off, Joe. All right, come.
He had to motivate me when I was younger, because like most kids when they're young, I want to do other things. I want to go out with my friends, and he used to kick me up the ass and make me get to the gym. At the time, I used to probably hate the thing. I thought I hated him. Why is he doing this? But at the end of the day, he pushed me. He pushed me hard.
Under his father's guidance, Calzaghe has fought his way to a 41-win, no-loss record. But it wasn't until last March, when Joe dismantled American Jeff Lacey, that the boxing world at large finally saw what everyone in Wales already knew.
It's taken the Lacey fight to finally get the recognition I deserve. At the end of the day, I've been champion for 9 years. I finally showed the world and a lot of people, not everybody, of what I could do. I suppose most people in Wales know what I could do.
Some would say Joe-Calzaghe is nothing more than a big fish in a small pond. It's a stigma he's dealt with his entire career. Calzaghe doesn't see it that way. No matter how big his fame or his legend, this pond is the place he calls home.
The hills and the mountains, it's beautiful, beautiful hills, beautiful runs for me. Listen, I believe you have to be happy with your train, and it's always worked for me. And if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. And I'm always in great shape for fights, and I'm happy, being around my family when I'm training, being around my kids, and that's what makes me tick.
And we welcome you back to ringside in Manchester. Max, he got through the huge assignment against Lacey in March. We talked about the possibility of super big fights down the road against the likes of Taylor or Wright or Hopkins. This is not one of those nights. But if you look carefully at Sakio Bika's record, he may be far more difficult than the kinds of opponents we frequently see on a night like this. So why would promoter Frank Warren and the Calzaghes have gone in that direction?
That's a good question. If you look at the history of boxing, very few fighters, far fewer than most people realize, have ever gone through, say, 10 straight top 10 contenders without a loss. Joe-Calzaghe is undefeated in his professional career, and he's been fighting world-class opposition for over a decade. Still hard to imagine that there won't be an emotional letdown tonight. This, after all, is one of those in-between fights, not really a big fight against the likes of some of the opponents that you just described, Hopkins and Winky Wright and these kind of fighters. To Calzaghe's camp's credit, they understand that. They chose Bika because they feel his aggressive style will bring out the best in Calzaghe, who's a natural counterpuncher. Bika's camp responds by saying they chose us because they know we're going to give him a bit of a fight. What they don't realize is we're going to give him a bit too much of a fight. Indeed, if Calzaghe's not prepared, Bika is just the kind of contender, tough guy, to upset the apple cart.
Very quickly, the tail of the tape now for Joe-Calzaghe against Sakio Bika. As we told you, the fight takes place in the 168-pound weight class, where Calzaghe is now the absolutely undisputed kingpin as the result of his destruction of Lacey. He's 34 years old, giving up 3 years in age. Elsewhere, Bika claims he's only 27. This appears to us to be the valid information. Calzaghe with a 1-inch height advantage, an arm-length advantage of a half an inch measured from the armpit to the end of the fist for Bika. They both weigh in right on the limit of 168. Rules, Max?
Well, they're the unified rules because Calzaghe's the 168-pound champ, and that's what happens when you're the champ, and there they are.